I recently posted a video comparing 3 different virtual mixing environments by Waves, and in the video I showed that I also use Sonarworks room correction to help adjust the EQ of my headphones so that they're as flat as possible before I feed it into those virtual mixing environments. And so many of you submitted questions about whether it's important to put the EQ correction before the virtual mix environment or after. So I did an experiment. So the best way to find out if the order really does matter in the sound is to do what's called a null test. If we have 2 exactly the same sounds and one is flipped 180 degrees in polarity, then they should perfectly cancel out. I use this same method to look at plugins. I'll have a link to a video I recently did on clippers and how some of them were actually the exact same hard clipping algorithm. So feel free to check that out if that's something you want to dive deeper into. So to perform the null test, all we need to do is render the audio file once with Sonarworks first, and then the virtual mix environment second, and then vice versa. And then to see if they're exactly the same, we flip the polarity. Okay, so I've basically done that already. So we have Sonarworks reference 4, we have this Nashville, Ocean Way Nashville plugin, and I've rendered the files already to save you some time. So let's compare the 2 different versions, one with Sonarworks first and one with NX first. So you can hear they sound pretty similar. There's really not a whole lot difference going on, but to my ears, they did sound different. So the way to prove this is we can invert the phase of one of these files, which I've done. So we've changed the polarity to 180 degrees, and then we added them together, and this is what we get. We get a file that looks like this. Because there is a difference between those 2 different files, we're getting a waveform here. So what you're hearing right now is the difference between having Sonarworks first or second in that chain. So that was really interesting. So order does matter. It's changing something. It's changing that from one or the other. We don't know which one is better. We just know that there's a difference. And initially I thought that maybe this was because we needed to have it in a linear phase mode on Sonarworks or something. So I performed the same experiment again using Sonarworks in a linear phase mode, and this is what we get. So I rendered these 2 files, flipped the phase of one, combined them, and this is the difference we get now. Here was the original difference. So you can hear when Sonarworks is set up in linear phase mode, it's actually a little bit quieter. And there's a lot less bass frequencies in this difference file, which means that the bass is more coherent to both versions. Whether that means it's better or worse, I don't know. So if I had to choose between no latency and linear phase mode for Sonarworks, I'm probably going to use the linear phase mode because we see less of a difference between these 2 sound files. It is susceptible to some pre-ringing, so again, this is totally a preference thing. I also directly reached out to Waves about this, whether the EQ correction should be before or after in the signal chain. And the programmers responded to me, and they've mentioned that it's probably the best idea to flatten the headphone response as much as possible using the EQ correction before you instantiate any of the NX virtual mixing environments. So the official answer that I can give you to solve this mystery is to put Sonarworks before your NX plugins. If you found this video helpful, please hit that thumbs up button. That tells YouTube that this is a useful video. And if you want to be notified when new videos are released every single week, covering topics on mixing, mastering, setting up studios, music production, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon. Thank you so much for your attention today, and I hope to see you in the next video.